The last thing I want to show is one of the newest features we've developed, which is getting back to that 360-degree view of spending. And that's our tool cost registry. So this is where you can really start to see the difference between how Revenium is thinking about costs of AI and how traditional systems do. And so this is what we call our iceberg chart. And the example here is we've got several different types of agents, but this one, the closing agent, is probably the easiest one to understand. This is processing loans. And so above the line, you can barely see them, but if I go into a log scale, you can see them. The cost of tokens to execute something like this is usually going to be trivial. It's mostly deterministic. It's taking data in, moving it into a form, processing, and then making decisions. The cost, however, of all of the external tool calls to get the data needed to decide how you're going to process a loan is massive. And so here we see 174 times ratio between the cost of the tokens and the cost of the tools and the decisions that the agent is making. And so what we're doing is extending the ability to do the alerts, like I just talked about against token costs, to do the same thing against tool costs, so that for any given transaction, you're going to be able to see and immediately understand if an agent has gone out of bounds on either the tokens or the tool costs, which are the cost of the decisions it's making. And so together, that gives a pretty good idea of what we're doing today. And where we're going next in the roadmap is taking these decisions and doing two things with them. One is we're implementing guardrails so that using the same SDKs that are executing at runtime, when these conditions are violated, we'll give customers the option to throttle or block transactions until a human can come into the loop and see what's wrong. So there's not just visibility and there's not just the ability to optimize, but there's the ability actually to control behavior. And then the second thing is what we're developing right now is taking each of these agents and the scenarios that they're executing and mapping them to a business outcome. So in this closing agent, the business outcome would be a loan closed or a loan processed, depending on how you looked at it. And we'll be able to measure ROI of the cost against the revenue of that loan using our product model. And then the same thing in our tool registry that we can do, not only can we execute against tracking the costs of tools like you see here today, but a tool is a generic concept that actually can be anything. And one of the main use cases we see from our early customers who are doing this is tracking tool costs to include the time of a human who is involved in any given workflow. So pre-AI, like in support, every company will know the cost of an agent, a human agent, and the average number of minutes it takes to close a ticket. And that can be tracked back to a dollar amount. And so once, as they implement increasing amount of AI or different scenarios for AI, they can track the decreasing amount of human time that goes into these tools over time and see improvement in well, there may be improvement, maybe not, but what they'll be able to track is a change in the efficacy of the outcome, what percentage of tickets get closed over what amount of time, and what is the total cost of tools, including humans, in those workflows? And is that getting lower or higher over time when you compare the cost of the tokens going up and the amount of human time going down? That's what you want. But oftentimes, as AI gets rolled out, it's the opposite. The token cost goes up, and the human cost to intercede and manually recover from poorly implemented agentic solutions is higher than it was prior. And so this gives customers a real view by workflow, by business outcome. You can't see it yet here today because it's our next thing coming out. That's where we think everybody needs to go. Is not what do the tokens cost, what do the decisions cost, and is the business outcome achieved? And that's where ultimately we're headed in the near future. Thank you.